Hello, welcome to your weekly astrological transits, your astrology weather forecast, kind of how I like to look at it. And wow, I can definitely tell Uranus is in Gemini. I mean, things are now starting to, information is shifting. Gosh, it's like you're getting distracted, you get more on your plate, there's more things, more people, and it's just begun. It's just begun. But yeah, I can just definitely feel that different vibe. And I think one thing that we should all do is, look at your chart, set your chart to whole sign. So it starts out at the 0 degrees. I'm a Leo rising, so it's 3 degrees on mine. But I set it to 0. But I have intercepted houses and that makes it messy. But if you just run it somewhere, if you don't understand what I'm saying, it doesn't matter. You can go on any of the charts, I mean, of the sites that you can get your chart done on and just select whole sign. They're usually in Placidus. That's kind of the common one, if I'm saying that right. Or another common one is Koch, Koch. Those are more common ones. Sometimes equal house, but just do it to whole sign, and it does the 0 degrees of each sign. Again, if I'm a 3 Leo rising, it would set it to 0. But it doesn't matter because it's a different way of looking at it. I don't say it doesn't matter. It gives you a different view of some. The Placidus house gives you more like a psychological overview, kind of like you inside your head sort of perspective, which is, I think, common where a lot of people are at. But if you have it at whole sign, I find, and a lot of people find that the sign it's like, how do I say it? That starts to get a resonance. It's like it starts to get an influence. It's like an ingress. It starts to feel the influence, of that sign before it even hits that degree. Because that degree is just a little point, but whole sign is resonance, a flavor. It's like if it's salty, you get a little taste of salt, more salt, real salty, right? It's not sour, it's salty. So that's kind of how it is. So like just looking at today's chart, if this one were the chart of a person, it's showing 5 degrees on the ascendant Libra, everything would just be 0. It would be 0 Libra, and then the second house would start with Scorpio, on and around. Okay. That being said, taking the whole sign lets you know, like, okay, like in this person, we're going to look at where is Gemini in this chart, and we see, it's 4 degrees, so it's like almost, if just imagine that we're 0. I don't want to mess with it now because we're going to look at the transits, but this would be Uranus would be in the ninth house because the ninth house has 4 degrees. It's not in that yet, but let's just pretend that we're 0, then that would flip over into that house. So for this person, whole sign, Uranus is going to be going through their ninth house. That is where Gemini is, and that will flavor that person might be. Well, I mean, they're just born, but but anyway, let's just pretend it's just as any other person. So Uranus in that ninth house would make that ninth house more subjected to that Uranian influence going through Gemini. It's different than it being in somebody's second house that would do more with their money. In the eighth house where it's just showing on this one, that's would be more in sudden things with your joint resources. That's an interesting place for it. If it's in your seventh house, it would be more with relationships with others or open enemies being the seventh house. So look in your chart to see where Uranus is going to be for the next 7 years. What house is the these the actions in life where things are going to be taking, it's like again, if it's a second house, it's going to do with your money or possessions. If it's a third house, your communications or siblings. If it's a fourth house, it'll be your home. The fifth house, your creations. And I'm broadly generalizing. So you look up each thing that the house does and it affects that. Fifth house is not only creations, it's children and, things going on, love affairs, whatever. So look and see where it's going to be. And then also the planets that just changed signs, of course, Saturn and Neptune, they're in Aries, so go see what house they're going to affect or are affecting. So anyway, this is like you can kind of personalize it. as we look at things and as planets go through the year, they'll go through all of the signs. All right, so coming into this week, well, we have the flavor of the heavy Aries is changing. We've got two planets now out of Aries and into Taurus. So we're starting to pick up this Taurian flavor, with the sun and Mercury. And Mercury's gaining on the sun. It's going, have their conjunction, and then we'll get into the next retrograde coming in. But anyway, more of that another time. But we're getting this Taurian earth flavor. We're getting, you know, wanting to be more get your house, get your finances, get your securities in order, making things fluffed up and like, well, a lot of stuff is about the home, a lot of things about, security, a lot of things about, where things are going to be in the world is coming up, and then Mercury is helping you think about it. It's that, just went into Taurus, so that the thinking is going to slow down a little bit, be more pragmatic, be more practical. This is very good because we have Venus, in Gemini going, I want this, I want that, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to, and it's starting that, the squirrel, I call it the squirrel phenomenon. It's over here, over there, over here, over there. We got to ground our attention and stay focused. That's our goal, right? And then Uranus there is just adding insult to injury here. So anyway, I think the coming into it, having knowing this and having Mercury in Taurus and Sun in Taurus is going to give us some stability and grounding with this energy. I think it starts it off on a good foot. By knowing this and by working with astrology, we can get geared up for that. Put in parameters that help our safety checks, things that help little notes to self, trying to keep yourself focused, unscattered. Don't say yes to too many things you can't handle. It's like we know that and can, when we find that we're in the thick of it, we have to just back out and go, look, I overdid because you don't have to tell them Uranus is going through Gemini and I just, got too many things. You just know that. So anyway, that is kind of a big theme of right now. We've just had all of this change, and I think we're just starting to get it settled. A few annoying things yesterday. Let's go back a day at the May the 4th be with you day, May the 4th. Um, Mars, there we go. Mars over here on the right hand. It's got to just find this. Mars was squaring over to Jupiter. We looked at that last week, but that's where we're coming into this week. We're just coming off of that. It was late last night, so we're trying still feeling it today. It could be energy. Think about it. What I like to do when I look at these aspects is think of these as conversations. So think about this person. Okay, this person here, Mars. Okay, we have kind of a fast-paced, fast-talking, aggressive, motivated, pioneering, on the edge, forward, doesn't mince words, that kind of energy, right? And that's in conversation with Jupiter, expansive, growth, opportunity, kind of like Santa Claus. Okay, so we have that. But then now we have the flavors. Okay, so Jupiter is at home. It loves to be here. It's or not at home. It's exalted. It loves to be here though, in Cancer. So we have Santa on vacation. It's like loves he loves to work, but loves to be on vacation. This big energy is expansive on the home, on the what's comfort to you? Where do you find security in comfort in where you reside and where you feel comfortable? That's enlarging. It's getting bigger. And then Mars over there in its own, okay, it's in its sign, it's in its home, right? Mars in Aries is where its home is, but Jupiter is in Cancer where it's exalted. So that's very interesting. It adds, I think, a good tone. They both feel good where they're at. So I think it's a more uptoned square. It's a better square, even though it's a cardinal square, and you're still going to get that little clash of that cardinal energy. But it seems more forward moving rather than obstacle entanglement. But it's still there, depending on you and how you are and other factors, of course. But looking at the world at large, I think this is moving things forward on a lot of levels. I think things are. Yeah, just easy way to say it. So we're coming into that. That was yesterday, but it's still the influences there. one day away. Um, Mars just barely moves off of that. So we still have that moving forward in a big way energy, moving projects forward, finally getting some clarity and moving forward on something that feels good. It's cardinal energy, something that you wanted to do about your home, from your home, um, initiative for something secure, anything on those two combinations. So the conversation here is a tense one, being the square, but it's one, I think it's because they're both happy where they're at. It's like, well, let's make it good, let's make it better. I'm in a good mood and you're in a good mood. And even though it's supposed to be a tense kind of thing, we're both are dynamic and we want to make it work and we have energy and enthusiasm and confidence. So I think this is a good, I, I felt like this one was not a bad square. All right, so coming into today, where's the other one? Mercury. Mercury 5 over to Pluto 5. Dun, 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 dun. And then it's got, resonating with the nodes, um, a trine and a sextile. Yeah. So we got good aspects with Mercury in the nodes, so that's good. It's kind of like it's on purpose, on point, in slowed down the thinking, analyzing, thinking, chewing up a little bit, not just jumping on to the next. So I think it's got its facts in order, so to speak. So Mercury in Taurus, got my facts, feel confident, squaring up with Pluto, ready to go deep. And see, and this is interesting too, because Pluto right now is stationary, about ready to go retrograde tomorrow. So it's about as powerful as it can get. Mercury's right there, you know, um, with a square to that power. It's like, all right, if you have something to say, I got a microphone for you. Okay, I'm gonna interview, the devil. I'm gonna interview death. I'm gonna interview the tower. I'm gonna interview um, the bad people behind the scenes. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why did you do this? Why did you poison it? Blah blah blah. I'm not gonna. Anyway, why did you do? That's the kind of message coming out. So Pluto is there, ready to narrate, and Mercury is there to give the microphone. So I think we're going to see this come out a lot more of these types of conversations. So right now it's like, and again, Mercury's in practical Taurus, so practical things. Be interesting to watch the world news. It's practical things, come out on other levels, not just the war that's going on now, the Iran conflict. Anyway, so Pluto, stationary, whenever a planet is, going to turn retrograde or direct, it's stationary. So we have the very powerful information, and it's, there in Aquarius. So it's yearly change into the retrograde. I think it's kind of good. I think it's maybe, I don't know, it may take some of the pressure off of so many things, or it just might, how do I say it? It's like ripping the Band-Aid off fast. Or we could just leave the Band-Aid on until it just sort of falls off on its own, kind of an energy. All right, so Pluto again, it's going to retro now. It's in its retrograde season starting in, so some of these outer planets aren't going to be quite so in our face on a lot of things. But forward momentum is going to change. All right, so that's there it is. It's stationary. It's probably late in the day. There it is. It's probably late Wednesday, early Thursday. We have it actually retrograde. Moon goes right over it. Boom. There, go back. There. What? Why isn't this working? Okay, there we go. So I wanted to go back. All right, so what was I gonna say that? All right, so we have Pluto going direct, very powerful. Moon is just like finishing and it will sweep over. Boom. Got that. There it is. I don't know what I did. Okay. So anyway, it's going through, hanging out kind of what I should say right now in good aspect with Mercury, right? Its moon is going into or went into a couple days ago into an earth sign. There we go. I couldn't work the buttons. All right. So moon and earth sign, it's getting, more of a feeling of practicality. Moon wants to, in Capricorn, get more, the emotions want to get more maybe get it in order, get, more reserved, more cautious, more putting things together, maybe not being quite so open. And then it goes and confronts Pluto. So I think it's kind of getting ready for that. The emotions maybe gearing up for something, gearing up for a confrontation, gearing up for a deep dive emotionally, gearing up for, something that you might have to deal with or confront, especially if you have other things at those degrees, like at about the 5 degree mark. Anything, I give it about 5 degrees either side. Mm, 3 to 5 degrees. All right. Thursday. Not a whole lot happened. I think it's pretty quiet. We just have moon aspects, nothing else. We just have powerful Pluto, moon changing, Thursday into Friday, moon will go over Pluto. So we have that. Um, you know, it's just I think it's sometimes, when moon aspects kind of are there with people, and I notice with myself, I notice sometimes it's like a dour mood, an icky feeling, and you go, this must be a moon thing. It must be hitting on me. And usually it is. I go look it up and I'm like, yep, there it is. And I like to tell people just wait, just give it a good 6, 12 hours. Usually it changes, the moon changes fast, and the mood will change. And then if it's kind of on something, or if you have a few planets in a row going over a stellium, then it's probably be better the next day. Unless, of course, you have things scattered all the way through the sign. So it's good to know that each month when that happens, when the moon conjuncts through like your stellium, your clump of planets, that could be a longer time. So, and work with those energies, for sure. Okay, coming into the weekend, moon. It goes into Aquarius and then it will shift into Pisces. So that will be interesting with that um, squares, because it's going to be, making a lot of the squares over the sun and Mercury. So Sun and Mercury, Mercury getting closer to the sun. It will be later. Let's see. I'll give you the dates in a second. But anyway, don't have much else this week. Coming up to the 10th on Sunday is pretty much the only other big aspect we have with the sun and Jupiter. Sun is making a nice sextile. It's to be a nice aspect, a nice Taurus security, Jupiter, expansive, that nice Cancerian energy. So there'll be a nice aspect with, maybe finding, a home, anything to do with your home, anything to do with gardening, anything to do with finding a home, anything to do with securing a home, canning foods for your home, getting your survival kit in gear for the home, getting things ready for the summer or the winter or something, whatever for the home. Those are all kind of aspects because it's on the opening, on that beginning phase. All right. Coming up though, what we have for the rest of this month, and I'll just show you, we'll just flip them. On the 14th, we've got our conjunction here. There's the Sun conjunct Jupiter, I mean, uh, God, my brain. Mercury conjunct the Sun. So there's that fusion of intense Taurian centered energy, right? So we've got this right in, this Taurus energy, this earthiness. I think a lot of will be thinking calmly, serenely, thinking about security, thinking about growing, thinking about the garden, thinking about maybe bringing back old ways of gardening, lots of things like that. And then it'll get ready to change signs and go crazy when it then confronts Uranus. That's coming up. You can see it, right? It's going to go change directions, confront Uranus. So that things will get really crazy those days. All right. This is the 14th. Okay, the 17th. 17th. Here we go. Mercury um, goes into its own sign, which now, I mean, usually planets in their own signs are kind of a good thing. But I think this one, I think Mercury's way better in its exaltation in Virgo. But this one is just going to scatter things, underline this day for maybe not following through. Don't make a lot of plans because you're probably going to break them. Um, Things can be you never know, things off the walls, and suddenly things you didn't know of, you didn't expect, or you'll just maybe forget things, or maybe there'll be just lots of stuff, chaos. And then, like within the next day, it goes right over Mercury. I mean, Uranus. Look at like within a day, it's flying. It goes really fast. So one 24-hour period, it's moved into the sign, so it gets that jolt, and then look within a day, it's gone over already and another degree past. So it's flying. And this is good, but it's going to be it's reminiscent of just surface stuff, just briefly looking at things, surface energy, or busy, or in a hurry, or stuff coming through, or you didn't realize it. All of a sudden, your phone just blows up. Not, not literally, but all of a sudden, you get a lot of texts, or something you put out there, you get a lot of feedback on. That's coming. And then now that day, we'll have the moon going over Venus, which will be very interesting. Venus is about to move into Cancer, which she likes that better. But this is also still chaotic. So it could be nervous, this 17th and 18th. It's just maybe a nervous, high energy, high paced day. So just be ready for that one. I would mark that down. And then on the 19th, it kind of comes right in there. Mercury now is here making a trine over to Pluto. So kind of similar to now, but it's in a crazy area. So instead of the square, we got the trine. And this is going to be really off the cuff. This is going to be just really crazy. So I've definitely underlined these 3 days, 17th, 18th, 19th. This is just I don't know what it is. Just be ready for unusual things. All right, interesting days on the 22nd. Then we have the sun about ready to conjunct um, Uranus. So any conjunctions are always intense. So we had the Mercury and now the Sun. So the Sun conjuncting Uranus is definitely unusual. Things could, it's it's yearly, but now we're into a different flavor of it. When the sun made the conjunction, was it last year? No, it wasn't in there yet. It was in Taurus. So now it's in Gemini, and it's right here with Mercury. So we have this whole little almost stellium. They consider four planets a stellium, but this energy is double, so it's almost like six, right? Gemini. Okay, so anyway, this could be really chaotic and interesting times. This is going to be continuation of sort of like the 17th. It's almost like this whole time frame in here because this is all in orb and it all is going to just have that flavor. There is no real separation, although we like to give you these linear dates, but it's like it just slides in. All right, and then the last interesting one for May that we'll come back to is the two malefics. Mars, 5 degrees. It's already moved okay into Taurus, so it's gonna hit that 5 degree mark, and guess what? It will square over to Pluto. Yes. Yep. So anyway, we'll have that again at that we got the malefics, so we're going to end the month kind of interesting there with an interesting conversation, and not a real good one. So I would put that on the calendar too, is just to be cautious and to keep heads up to different things because malefics when they're in square, it's just good to be aware of world events, local events, things that are odd, and the other square that we came into with Mercury or was it Mars? I'm sorry, Mars and Jupiter. See, we had one malefic, one benefic, and then Mercury's neutral and to Pluto, which is kind of a malefic. But here we have the two malefics together, so it's kind of like the two bad boys are getting together. Yep, yep, the two gangmen. They are there. They are. They're friends now. And they're getting together. So it's square. So yeah, watch those days. All right, that is it for this week, and then just an overview for the month, and we'll get into some of the others as we unfold May. But it's focusing on until when is it? The 20th, late the 20th, 19th, 20th, before we move into Gemini and get kind of crazy. So the Earth, earthing, get into the earthing shoes. Are you grounded? Getting things to be grounded and to get yourself grounded and make a grounding habit getting some Taurian concepts before we move into too much into crazy Gemini. All right, that is it for today. Thank you for being here. Talk to you next week. Bye for now.